Now, if you enjoy buying Hello Kitty stuff, you will be frightened by this case. And you'll never again be able to look at those cute little kitties the same way. This is the gruesome story of the young woman whose severed head was found inside a Hello Kitty doll. Unlike the other videos, I will take you through complete story. So that being said, as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Number 1. The case. The 14-year-old girl arrived at a police station in Hong Kong in May 1999. She admitted to police that, over the previous few weeks, she had been haunted by the spirit of a lady who had been tortured to death and bound by electrical wire. She was ignored by the police, who wrote off her statements as fantasy or youthful gibberish. But when she revealed that the ghost was of a lady she had assisted in murdering, their intrigue was piqued. They tracked the youngster down to a shabby apartment in the city's Kowloon neighborhood and found that the girl's nightmares were in fact extremely genuine. They discovered a large Hello Kitty doll with a woman's severed head inside the apartment. The incident, which came to be known as the Hello Kitty murder, was regarded as one of the most heinous crimes ever committed in Hong Kong. Number 2. The Hello Kitty murder victim, Man-yee. Even before she was beheaded and had her head placed inside a doll, Fan-man Life-yee's was terrible. She was reared in a home for girls after being left behind by her family when she was a little kid. She had a heroin addiction by the time she was a teenager and was turning to prostitution to support her habit. Even though she was still battling addiction, she had managed to land a position as a hostess at a nightclub at the age of 23. Man-yee met Chan-man Lok, a 34-year-old socialite, in the start of 1997. When the two first met, they found they had something in common. Chan-man Lok was a pimp and a drug dealer, while Man-yee was a prostitute and a drug user. Man-yee and his henchmen soon joined Man Company Locks as a regular addition. Later in 1997, Man-yee snatched Man Wallet Locks and made an effort to flee with the $4,000 inside because he was in need of cash and narcotics. She hadn't realized Chan-man Lok should have been the last victim of her theft. Man Lok hired Leung Xing-cho and Leung Wai-lun, two of his thugs, to kidnap Man-yee as soon as he realized his money was gone. He had plans to coerce her into prostitution so he could profit from her earnings and get paid back for the money she had taken from him. But before long, things had gone out of hand. Number 3. Hello Kitty murder, Ah Fong. Soon after, the drug lord and his goons realized that torturing Man-yee was going to be necessary in addition to merely prostitution. In addition to beating and tying her up, they also burned her flesh, raped her, and made her eat human waste for more than a month. Even though Fan-man torture Yee's was horrible, the story of the 14-year-old girl who reported her murder to the authorities is possibly even more horrifying. She was not only in charge of bringing the tormentors to justice, she was also one. The 14-year-old girl, who went by the pseudonym Ah Fong, was Chan-man girlfriend Lok's, though it's possible that the term girlfriend was used amorphously. Chan-man Lok. The girl most likely served as another of his prostitutes. Ah Fong once saw Man Lok kick Man-yee 50 times in the head while the trio was being tortured at Man apartment. Loks after that, Ah Fong joined in and struck Man-yee in the head. The amount of Ah Fong's torture was undoubtedly severe, even though the specifics of it were withheld as part of her plea agreement. She responded, "I got a hunch it was for fun," when questioned about them. Number 4. The killing. Man-yee had passed away overnight after being tortured for a month, according to Ah Fong. While most experts believe it was her injuries that ultimately killed her, Chan-man Lok and his goons claimed she had died from a self-administered methamphetamine overdose. Because there is no way to know for sure, they can only hypothesize. The henchmen transferred Man Yee's to the bathtub in the flat and used a saw to cut her body apart after realizing she was dead. Then, they fried each component of her corpse separately to prevent her from deteriorating and smelling like rotten flesh. The murderers cooked the parts of her body and threw them away with the household rubbish on the same stove they were preparing dinner on. But they did manage to save her head. They allegedly used the same cooking tools to stir their meals as they used to move her head about while it was being boiled on the stove, before sewing her boiled skull into an enormous Hello Kitty mermaid doll. They also preserved various internal organs and one of Fan-man teeth, Yee's, which they saved in a plastic bag. Number 5. The trial for the Hello Kitty murder. Ah Fong testified against Chan-man Lok and his two goons in return for protection, which she most likely also received, in part because she was so young. She described the torturous treatment Man-yee received from the three guys in an effort to get rid of the haunting she claimed to be experiencing. Despite the fact that the narrative was so upsetting that many people believed it could not possibly be genuine, the evidence that the police found was shocking and upsetting. They found a ton of Hello Kitty decor at the apartment where Man-yee had been tormented, including towels, tableware, and sheets. Additionally, there was evidence that all three males had interacted with the body part trophy that had been stolen from Man-yee inside. The condition of Fan Man surviving Yee's body parts prevented the police and medical examiners from establishing a cause of death, which was unfortunate. She had undoubtedly endured horrific torture, and the three guys were undoubtedly responsible for the most of the physical harm to her body, but it was impossible to determine whether the torture or a drug overdose was to blame. The jury decided that even though the three of them were responsible for her death, they did not intend for her to die, thus they found the three guilty of manslaughter rather than murder. The Hello Kitty murder allegation shocked Hong Kong's population in shock, but the trio was given a life sentence with a chance of parole in 20 years. Number 6. What happened after that? However, the story does not end there. In the months that followed this horrifying murder, a number of unusual things started to happen around the building where it was committed. In one instance, a woman who hadn't heard about the murder booked an apartment with a friend on the 4th level of the building. Then, she and her pals began going through some seriously bizarre occurrences, like having a ghost touch them as they slept, and overhearing ladies sobbing at the next apartment, which was empty. The personnel of the hair salon, which was located on the 1st and 2nd floors of the building, reported finding Hello Kitty dolls the morning after they shut up. Other inhabitants of the building reportedly claimed to have seen a female ghost while walking up the stairs. When they raised their heads to examine the CCTV footage, they discovered that one night after the salon owner locked up, there was a shadow following him as he walked. Because of these tales, no one wanted to dwell in that building, so they all finally left, leaving the structure vacant for years. Up until 2012, when it was destroyed. Now if you think this case is scary, you've seen nothing yet. The next one will totally terrify you and leave you questioning if humanity really exists. Hope you liked the video. So, stick around for more such videos and make sure to like and subscribe.